Hello and welcome. Today is the second day of July 2017. My name is Derek. Let's take a look at the markets. The markets have just closed on the altcoins. No, they haven't. There is no such thing as these markets closing. Don't know why I said that. However, any decisions you make from anything I state is involved within your own risk, own reward. And let's get started here. So today's session, a little bit of an up move, around 4%, up to about the 25.13 handle, but more continuation within this sideways range. Usually these things will result themselves within the trend, and we got a decent up move in here. And maybe you'll get something in here where it pierces down and then eventually goes higher, where you get maybe a little bit of a further price correction. I can't state either way for sure, but there's probably a pretty darn near good chance that the next significant move that will go either up and hold or down and hold will be that of an up move. And that's why I say the and hold, because if something just sparks down fast and then moves back higher, that's the definition of not holding that type of play. Let's move on to the 4-hour time frame. And when we look at a chart like this, this is almost the definition of choppy, which is very difficult to really trade. I guess the only thing you can mainly do is find lower ends of ranges and then higher ends where, hey, good reason to be buying in here, and maybe you start selling in here. Definitely you'd be selling the upper range at this point, but it's really difficult as far as any easy way within playing these types of choppy markets. We have a situation from back in here where the market came up, established this resistance point, but had a little bit of a deep correction in here. Nothing too big because it still maintained a higher low. And since that point, there has been several consecutive green candles up right now, showing a nice bullish sign as this correctionary phase hasn't had much of a pullback. We can see just this green period in here, or the one with the cattail, had a little bit of price correction within it, but that also shows you quick recovery within such. But it's still going to be key around this 25.80 level. There's going to be another key level at around 27.40 to about 20, close to 28, but probably not quite in here. And then, of course, the big level, which I'm going to just label as 3,000 even, because that's pretty much where it came towards. Let's move this to the 15-minute chart. And some of the things we can see in here, as far as the little bit of a price correction, there was move that went from 24.60 down to 16. And this only occurred in that of, let's see, it goes from 9 o'clock to about 1,300 hours. So 4.5 hours. That's, I mean, in day trading, and when you are playing the SPY and the Adobe funds, these are the type of moves you're hoping or looking at. Okay, a stock goes from $24.60 down to $24.16, and now it's back up to $25.20. And even with then, it's like, oh, did you see this XYZ stock? It was it dipped all the way down to 24 and change, and now it's well over 25. Wow, that's a decent sized move. That's a 4% up push. You don't get that too often in a better part of a day in the stock market. No, I mean, sometimes you will with those codes, but I'll be interested to see how many of those are actually switching over. Of course, I'm not going to see too much of it, but I do have to think one by one. You'll see a lot of the traders seeing that, you know what, this game is a much easier one to, I think, profit compared to the traditional method. And as far as this analysis, just by looking at such, you have all these form resistance meeting the support level. A little bit of a deep pullback here, but you see momentum up around here. You know, short term, like really short term, you can get quick scalps up, like buying around here and selling in here. I mean, that is really short term. Let's move on to Ethereum. And basically all we're seeing is a continuation of the further sideways action. This little support level in here, which was one of the ones that came down quick and rebounded back to this trading range. Well, you can say right now that it's, I don't know if you want to call it about resisting this area, but congested within the area, which means its neutral price over the last few days is around this low. So it's like trading a little bit of a leg lower. It also means that since this area in here, there's an opportunity for this to break down. Didn't do it, but it still has to get above this high. And if it doesn't, and you start to see momentum going lower, another cautionary sign that you probably have a test of this previous low. Switch it on to the cross with the Bitcoin. More of this sideways action as well, with this support level definitely in the same congestion area point as well. But like a lot of these different situations, you can go sideways for a lengthy period of time. Situation in here, there was a lengthy time going sideways and a small pop. That wasn't a leg higher. And here we go. And this is a leg higher. A leg higher is a significant move upon a break of resistance. So to have a leg higher here, I mean, 17 ain't going to cut it. But 19, 20, 22, I think kind of would cut it as a minimum level for a significant new high on the situation of a break of the key resistance in at about 14 and change on this one. Of course, like every single chart, if a support level breaks, an area I'm going to be looking for is just different separate areas to where it was last coming from. And right off the bat, these would be the two key ones. Let's move on to the classic. And there's really not much to go over. Maybe I could do some research and see if the Sunday session was one of the lowest volatile ones, and how about like how many of these periods in here have been extremely lowly volatile. I've already covered a good 6, 7 too many seconds on this. Let's move on to Dash. And within this daily time frame, I've been talking a lot about this smiley face or bowl shape, however you want to label it. A little bit of a concern is this rate of ascent isn't really going with the shape that you would be desiring, or a situation for when this thing should have been ready to break out really the day of this red candle. Now, when the global markets are going down like this, then you really do play it for that. And I'm not going to really be concerned much at all, but just noting that, technically speaking, that after you've seen the pattern of this period and the following ones after the 3 consolidation within this, you would be expecting that a breakout would have been happening soon. Instead, you got the opposite looking day with that red candle down, and you follow it up with at least not further downward action. But like the ETC in so many charts, it's got a slow moving correctionary phase right now. Now, Litecoin's in that situation now where it soon should also be ready for a break or an exit of this 18 average band very soon, because after making this high, it's had a good run and correcting from this green candle to this previous green one, or there's this 3 in here of just sideways consolidation. But I do like how this green candle has stayed into form. That what would be this, looking at this, it wouldn't surprise me if a breakout were to occur on this particular day, which is that of Monday, or for any type of short-term levels in here to hold intraday. Really the key resistance of both Saturday and Friday. If those levels hold for the day, then that would also be setting up what would look like a very nice setup. And especially if that level holds, it's almost certain it would have to at least attempt to break the range to the upside. And within such, you got these moves. You go up, a little bit of a correctionary move, and once this thing gets going, is ready to leave, there's a decent chance that these types of levels could very easily be broken. And if they're not, what would be a likely situation? Maybe it breaks here, comes back, and then breaks it again like that. And there really isn't much gain in selling here unless you're able to buy the small dip lower, because that's oftentimes what you're going to see, especially when you go from the high, which is here, to the low, and the next move is relatively close to where it was before. Then that's almost like a warning or an early sign saying, yeah, we're strong. We're going to take you out. We're going to beat you. Like in a video game, a final boss. And this thing is just, it's building up energy in this stage. It's getting all the ammo and stuff that it needs to win. And it's going to use it to take out the high. That's like a way I think about markets and the gaining of energy through the sideways reaction, but just something to look for if this thing has the potential to keep moving higher now. Let's move on. This is Ripple, and this chart will no longer appear in 3 seconds from now. This one I'll talk a bit about. It's NEM. With Ripple, it's not going down, it's not going up, it's doing nothing. This one is grinding its way down, but what's very much a concern here is the constant testing of this kind of support. What do you mean this kind? Well, this kind is a situation where you go down and you come back really fast, thus have very little price action at that key point. And now you're having several loads of amounts of price action. People have had opportunity for days to buy in the 6,000s, and they've only been able to buy it up so much. So when you see support levels like this fail, don't be surprised to see significant down moves. And definitely, of course, to go bullish or any type of, the only way I can go bullish is if it goes down so much that it's so cheap. I think it's going to go higher. I'll buy then. And I don't have any buy orders in place right now. Or, I mean, it's got to do a bullish setup within this band, and it's not even in the band, let alone over it. It's, of course, resisting the 18 average of lows, a very bearish setup. XMR or Monero is next, and you have a situation in here where after coming up to this band, you're basically leaving it. The session on Sunday was a little bit of a sideways move from this down play. A few periods now within this support, but when it's all said and done, this is just one big, long sideways consolidation with a lot of volatile moves to the upside. And like I say, with a lot of them, you go up, you go sideways. But within its more longer-term weekly time frame, it's got a nice, interesting pattern where it has had several tests of this 24 handle, and from each low has been getting higher than before. Now at a situation, 2 red candles down. Can it continue to find this higher low and have yet another resistance test, but up move and then ascending triangle? So that's what the pattern here represents. ZEC or Z Classic, it's already came down to where it came from. And you've already had an opportunity to get your sale on it. That's all you were able to get, and you only had a couple days or so to get it. So therefore, the next area at which it came from is mainly in here. So if there happens to be any major selling, well, it's already at 117. The fall will be down to 75. These are the type of moves in stocks for just regular legs higher and lower can take a year to make. Yet if I'm looking at this on a daily chart, I could say, okay, maybe sometime in July it could do that, into August. And then it may not if it could just continue its correctionary move in here, because up, sideways, up, and then sideways. Once it breaks this point, and that's if it does without breaking down, then you're looking for, like you see all of these other ones, all of the significant up moves. Boom, boom. They just keep happening. And this is, it's with like all of these codes, they pretty much have the same similar patterns. NXT is next, and NXT is next. Interesting. After this breakdown below this 18 average low and really breaking the support as well, there was no bullish behavior to follow. In fact, a little bit of further decline. Where did it come from last is a key area. We're looking at around the 4,000 Satoshi level, meaning if this level ultimately fails, don't be surprised if it moves down there. But it's already in a situation where it's either setting up a move to that point or a failed breakdown. And that is, or would be, a situation like this in here. And and the few times I do see this in the cryptos, it does ultimately result into fast moves oftentimes. That you could say, okay, it's either gonna come down here and then do its thing, or it's gonna soon recapture this range and probably break the range soon thereafter, is usually one of the two outcomes that should follow from here. And let's finish this off with the Bella coin. And I see a failed move here. I just don't know which one it is. Either this is the failed breakout, or this will be the failed breakdown. Because, oh my goodness, this was looking pretty good before. I've talked about this since back in here. I was talking about it. Said I think it was good to go long. Sell target was in this range. Good call. Buy targets, well, pretty much here and here, here and here. And then I stated that it could probably go up to about, here. And I gave a few buy orders, and, nothing much has happened since then. It's been chopping around, going sideways, like so many of them. And if you feel this is going to go up, this is how long you have to wait sometimes. You buy into April, mid-April, and, here you went through all of May, all of June, that part of April, and now who knows how long of July for it to reach its next leg higher. I said lower there, but if, of course, it's going to do it. Because when you have a situation in here where you have this resistance established, you have all of this movement in here like this. So strong. And then you follow with the green candle like this, and boom, down she goes. That is weak. That is extremely weak. That if I were to state between buying and shorting or selling, I'm definitely saying selling, because I see now price action as it stands is in at this level. In fact, I want to take a look at this on a shorter term time frame, really looking at it just from here on mainly. And it tells the story so well here on the 4 hour. Because we look at this on the 16th, there's the nice little rally that came in, especially with it sparked by a decent green candle push. Price action going from 104 to about 133. That's a 25% or so instant gain. And then this beautiful sideways consolidation. But oftentimes from failed moves comes fast moves. And what the market is stating here, resistance was established. We're ready to break out and have this thing go in a nice bull market. So going up to 15 and pulling back to here, so be it, fine. Markets come back to where they came from. Well, all it did here was within this was just have this small little move. Not much. And then we see in here that this area gets resisted after it had this nice little spark from here. So twice it does this. It has a failed move. So you can see yet another one in here. And then on the break of this support, look, you have this move in here. The big, someone selling big and markets rebound higher. I would be very surprised if this thing is able to manage to get outside this time frame's 18 average of highs. I really, really would be surprised. I highly would expect it to make a lower high from here, maybe at best into this point. And maybe it should even do that, come up here a bit and then probably start to make some moves lower. But it doesn't look good, at least at the time frame of this chart. But we're seeing a lot of these failed moves. There's been, again, 2 that I've talked about. Because quite frankly, if this does move higher, you could make a case again here that this would be, because quite frankly, 1, 2, 3, 4 support tests to break that level and really not even stay much below it. Well, that would be the same definition, but usually and oftentimes in spots like this, you're going to get this failed move back to A, where you came from, or again, a situation in here would also be no surprise. So thank you for tuning in. And hey, if you're still watching this, man, that's amazing. As this, obviously, this information is good. It's probably helping you out as well. And I just think it's amazing because there's only so many people that are really in this type of this business. And it's a very profitable one, and I enjoy doing this. So I'm glad you enjoy tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.